Dan Paulson here. Welcome to the video, everyone. It's on to Genesis. It's time to start going through it in a bigger way. For those that are watching along, you understand that I am finding that there is a repeating pattern in the Bible and that it is built in an analogous manner, but it's very complicated and it's very old. However, what I'm also finding is there seems to be some sort of patterns that when we understand them, we understand what they're replicating. Saying 7 3 times on day 7 means that 7 and 3 become the same thing. That's how they're adjusting technology. That's what they're doing. It's a word of mouth story, and that was their technology. So if they're changing it up, they have to do it in the story itself with words, nouns, verbs, the way they do things, the way they repeat things. That's how the story varies. That was their options. So they left clues. However, we don't have them memorized. So what I'm doing is just using a find function and going through the Bible and finding repeating things or understanding things. Okay, it's really way too big to explain again to get started on it. So I'll just invite you to look through my videos if you're interested and ask any questions. If you want something specific to everybody else that's been waiting for this, we're going to jump right into it. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and pull up the template that I've been working with. This is the complete template. This is everything from creation all the way up to a healing cycle, all the way to the end of what would be called a monomyth, but is actually a human healing cycle, a personal turning inward. I've got to rectify this. I'm hurt over something, and I'm going to focus on it until it doesn't hurt me anymore. Cycle. That is what that is. So from the time we're born all the way up to that right there is the template. And then what happens beyond that is we just have to keep going back and cycling back inward again. And that's exactly what the stories in the template does. It starts out with creation, and then it just continues on going through repeating cycles of inner healing. Okay, do you remember looking at this last couple of videos? The template in mentally interactive terms right here. Number 1, we're born. Number 2 and 3, you see I have that highlighted yellow. What those are is the cycles. Everything within the cosmos is in cycles, and all that we experience is due to cause and effect. So cause and effect and cycles are going to be a part of the story. That's part of how life works. Then I've put some things in there that are in creation, but I think that we're not going to find them habitually in the material. What we are going to see is this step 7 right here. That is a point in our mental awareness where we're happy and not attached to life yet. We want to get back to that. The problem that has happened to us in life is that when we started out, we were not attached to the physical world mentally. We did not have mental experiences and judgments. Now we have those experiences and judgments, and so we are hurt, and we're trying to find a way to let those go. So this 7 right here becomes a very critical point, because this in the template is where we want to return to. We jump to 8. That would be where first sin is in the Bible. Judged, unchecked, our life experiences begin here and become hidden deeply, and we begin to lose our inner joy. That would be first sin, or something like that, where you're moving along. And you see I've colored that red. So as we get into the stories and we hit those parts and interpret them and go, oh, this is that part where we're starting to first sin again, we'll color that red. Cyclical pain, I've got that marked in there. That's going to be a critical part of the story. And then, there's some other things we'll just look at as we go. So right now, the only thing I've done that's really any different is start to color code these, because I'm thinking that might be a better way to show it. Alrighty, let's jump right into the interpretation then. This is Abram and Sarai. Let's set this up. This entire thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to play it out in my psyche. I'm going to do a thought experiment with it, and I'm going to pretend as if this entire story fits in a pathway that I'm taking inward. There's going to be things to it that I don't need to have. They're probably not superfluous, but there's going to be a lot of fine detail in here that I'm not going to know what it is yet. But we can see the big pictures in here. We can see if somebody is being told to leave, that they're leaving one place to another. If they're carrying a bunch of things with them, we don't know what those things are, but we do know that they're being told to leave with their stuff. That stuff, whatever it is, eventually we'll find out what all of that is. And you'll see what I mean as we move along. If that doesn't make sense now, it will in a moment. This is something that people probably haven't considered doing very much before, but what I would like to do is invite people to consider that you're back there thousands of years ago and you don't have technology. That if you have this story, that it does, if you have a gaming platform, if you have a place, if you have media, it's your imagination. It is your mind, or you're talking to people There's no books. We don't read. We don't write. It's very important. So it's bigger than what we just a simple story. Okay, it's important to set the scene. I think that helps us view what we're doing a little bit better if we do our best to try and get out of our biases. We bring them with us, but try to at least get into their shoes, into their life. Okay, with that set up, let's go ahead and move into the story of Abram and Sarai, and let me talk about how that's going to work. My conscious is Abram. My inner self is Sarai. If I was starting back in Genesis at the template, in the Garden of Eden, my consciousness is Adam and my inner being is Eve, and I am naked and unashamed in the garden. What I'm looking for here is something that's going to kind of replicate that a little bit. The conscious is still me, so Abram is my conscious self, and Sarai is my inner being. That is how I'm going to treat this, maintaining that mental hierarchy. If you're a man or woman, it doesn't matter. Your conscious is the male in the story, and your subconscious, your inner being, is the wife. Okay, if you think about that for a second, that is why the male is in charge of the female. That is for everybody. What that means is the conscious is in charge of the subconscious. Whatever we become is what we have decided based on the experience that we have. I like it, I don't like it, I'm ashamed of it, or something. We become that. So the conscious is really in charge of what is going on, and the subservient female part is the one that is being told what to do and then acts out and sins. Actually, that's not commonly what happens. What you get here is offspring that go bad. Cain and Abel, what happens? One kills the other. This represents the division of us. So it's not necessarily that the female is sinning, although some stories hold it that way. It's more that the qualities that we have judged along the way are being, it's a cause and effect. We're holding on to something without paying attention to it that is continuing to cycle. But it's a difficult thing. They're doing something in their culture 3,500 years ago that is so far removed from where we are that you have to look at that stuff and understand that it made sense for them as an analog. They would look around and go, oh, I carry this. Yeah, man's in charge anyway. What we know on the template is what that really means in the mental hierarchy is that the conscious is in charge of the subconscious. We get it to that point, it becomes interactive. Okay, I've got it pulled up here now. I'll get started on it. You might have seen this before. If you question, I've got some things labeled my own way. And since I realize that they are repeating names and words in here, nouns and verbs sometimes at certain amounts to counts to create more analogs. They're farming them that way. I purposely make sure I don't add any in there. So this is just my way of remembering, oh, that's Abram and Sarai. And if I do a search for Abram, what happens if I do a search for Abram? How many times does it come up? There are actually 30 occurrences of Abram. So there's probably something in there that, at any rate, that's at some point, this is how we start. We're the ones at beginning the path here. Okay, and that demonstration there was just showing you why I don't add more into it. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, watch. I'll show you how the farming goes on. If we're looking for, that's just a funny term, mining something else. I've had 12 show up, the number 12, and it pops up here and there, and I want to know, so I'm searching for it. And I get 1 of 8 results. Okay, so I want to go look at them. And what I see right here is one of them is all the days of Seth were 912 years, and he died. So that's a compound. That's way, where is that? That's way up here. Adam's descendants to Noah. If I go to the next one, it jumps all the way down to Genesis 14, and what do we have here? 12 years. The next one is 12 princes. We've got 12 princes again. 12 sons of Jacob. 12 brothers. 12 brothers again, 12 tribes of Israel. So the 12 shows up there without it being a compound, and it is 7 times. So I look at that and go, all right, that means 12 is 7. So I go over to the list over here, and the list I'm talking about is I'm starting to collect the analogs that can be speculated and then confirmed as far as all leading back to that critical point, day 7. Day 7 here again, yeah, that's our critical point. That's where we always want to start from or get back to or something like that. We start from a pure place. That's before first sin. That's Eden, That's our self, pre-life experiences. We are not yet attached to what will become our hurtful and our connected life's memories. Yeah, we can never return to Eden. Actually, that was before we had world experiences. Bliss was in ignorance. Now we have seen life. At any rate, okay, that's what we're looking for, though, in the stories is just this. They're looking for ways of repeating this. Now, some of these have been confirmed. You see the 7, 3, righteous, covenant, Canaan, naked, barren, famine, 40. All of those are showing up all over the place so consistently that, yep, they lead back to this point. What I just added to it was 12. Or what I suspect is 12. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that in here. And, oops, I don't want it to be. What I'm doing is, yeah, I put them up there in black when I suspect them. And then if they continue to show up and we can confirm them, then I'm putting them in. These other ones are very confirmed. Yeah, the 7s, 3s, righteous, covenant. These are, yeah, I'm sure that they're going to be there. They're showing up. All right, and again, all of these right here are going to be on this list right here. The day 7 right there, that point number 7, in the template right here, they're going to want us to continue to return back there to that point 7, but they don't want to keep saying point 7 over and over again. So what they're doing here, that's what I've got. They've got 7, 3, righteous, covenant, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, Canaan, naked. When we go into the stories, you'll see these. You'll see what they're doing. This was the mind is where it had to be. That's where it all goes. And you know, I'm learning as I go. Didn't we just a minute ago talk about Abram appearing 30 times? And 30 is one of them on here from this point. Abram represents a pure self. Yeah. Confirm this. This will Abram, let's see here. Abram, I have to it's also trying to pull up Abraham, and I think I've got a couple up there with an asterisk in front. Okay, yep, there it is. 30 results. So Abram does mean righteous self. You see that is actually very simple. They had them memorized. They could do that in their heads. That's why we are at a disadvantage. You see what I'm doing is actually cumbersome. You know, think about it. In simplest terms, I can tell you how many lug nuts are on my car and my wife's car, my daughter's car, without looking. That they could do that. With these, we can't. All right, and I realize that's a simple example, but, you know, think of something very complicated that you can do that you didn't know to begin with, but you eventually learned it. They did these for their lifetime. That was it. This was their stuff. Now the Lord said to Abram, "Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing." Okay, so that's the start of the story. That's the idea. Leave your, wherever you're from. Go from your country, wherever you start from, your place, your family. You're going to go out on your own. "I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. And in you all of the families of the earth shall be blessed." Okay, I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you. That right there is cause and effect. That is karma. That is the measure you mete unto others will be likewise meted unto you. Do you recognize that? I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. What about cycles? You know what? I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. When? I will bless those who bless you, and the one who curses you I will curse. Yeah, when? You see, we imply the cycles. Anytime necessary. So we've got cycles and cause and effect right there. I'm going to color that yellow. Or what did we have there? It's the same thing with the one where you will give, you will have pain in childbirth every time you have childbirth as part of the punishment. The conscious has to work the land. You're going to be attached to the physical, and you're going to feel pain every time something acts out of you is what that means. But it's implied all the time, whenever, all the time. Sometimes the simplest verse is the one that doesn't contain anything. Let go. Let go of what? You start specifying, well, you need to let go of this and that, and people might have something in their mind they're thinking, okay, well, they didn't mention this, so I'm going to keep hanging on to that. It was more complete to just say, let go. That's everything that you're hanging on to that is not okay. Make it your own. It's more complete to leave it sometimes simple. The mental implication brings us to how complete it really is. Okay, there we go. There's our first step. Let's go on then. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Okay, a couple things we want to look at here, and I'm going to get into a little bit of detail, but I can't get as deep as I'm sure that we're just not back there. Anyway, this is the idea that we are leaving our past and that we've got Lot, our brother, our other half. We've got something with us. This would be like a Cain and Abel sort of a thing. Lot with him. Abram was 75. So 75 right there, the 75, the 7 sounds like it's a step beyond 7. And so it sounds to me like the time you leave is when you're starting to experience life, perhaps. I'm not sure. The 75, I'm not sure of. He departed from Haran. If I look up Haran, the best I could find is that Haran is a place over there. It's a desert area that is fertile, but that did not get rain. So it was like nothing grew there. It was barren, but it was fertile. Does that sound like a child's mind? A barren and fertile place. We left the past. Abram took his wife Sarai, there we go, and our brother's son Lot, and his brother's son Lot. Okay, there we go. And all the possessions that they had gathered. I had that wrong up above. And the persons whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set forth to go to the land of Canaan. So this is our person, but this is the parts of who and what we are, what we're going to become, and what we have gathered in Haran, the things that we always have with us. If you go back and think of the flood, what happened? We had all of the beautiful young daughters of men had been corrupted. What that represented when we interpreted that was that our qualities, our good qualities as a child, our openness, our trust, all of that stuff had become lost. If you think about it for a second, though, we have right here in this story, we haven't quite gone into first sin yet. We're not quite there. So if we were to go back really early on in the template, in creation, we would find that this relates to us naming things, us having qualities to begin with at the start. We're playing, we're having fun. We are self-aware. Yeah, that's it. So we are leaving with these qualities. Abram took his wife and his son and all the possessions that they had gathered and the persons whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set to go forth to the land of Canaan. Canaan is where we want to go, to the good place, the happy place. That would be like going to Eden. Okay, so honestly, all spiritual teachings have in them some sort of a destination, and they can vary. It could be something like from Taoism, a different flow in the Tao. It could be from Buddha living in nirvana. It could be from Jesus, the kingdom of heaven within. It could be in a Greek myth that I need to go recover the golden fleece. There's a destination that we're looking for that gives us control of things. And that is a mental state of being. When we have that mental state of being, then we have control of things. So that's what we're looking for. And in this case, that's Canaan. We're looking for living in that space right there. Canaan is nirvana. And if that sounds strange to you, what I mean is that it is an analogous term that means the same thing. On the template, we're looking for being disconnected from all the things that we're attached to, and that is represented by many analogous terms. Everybody's goal is to get there. Okay. When they had come to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. Now it's getting into areas I'm a little bit not completely familiar on. An altar is going to be a place where we eventually go and offer something up. If I have something that is hurt, it's painful, I've got it put away, and I need to emerge it. I need to bring it out. I need to surface it. I need to look at it instead of saying, I'm not looking at it. I need to stop and face it and look at it. That is what the altar represents. That point in there where you are giving up the stuff that you're hiding, the stuff you're giving it up, you're burning it up, it goes up in smoke. The representation idea there is that. So that's happening. But there's other details in here I'm not certain of. Again, we'll find the big picture. We'll find the big concept in here. So the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built there an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. So that's where we're going to go back and, make our peace with ourselves. From there he moved on to the hill country on the east of Bethel and pitched his tent. with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and invoked the name of the Lord. Now, I believe east is a bad direction just because where did we go from Eden? East. We got sent away. And Abram journeyed on by stages toward the Negeb. So you're trying to find a place, moving on by stages. That sounds like, well, I don't know. We're traveling along. Now, honestly, if I look at it and I step back a little bit, moved on to the hill country, sounds like a high place, on the east of Bethel. I don't know if Bethel is a good or a bad place, but east of there, so it sounds like a bad direction, and pitched his tent. So you with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. So it's like you've got two directions you can go, or it's right there in the middle. And there he built an altar to the Lord and invoked the name of the Lord. So right there in the middle, while balanced without going left or right, Bethel is going to be, one of them is going to be good and one of them is going to be bad. And anyway, that's built an altar there and then moved on, Didn't stick with the altar. So that means that's a point we have to come back to. That's a tie point we'll come back to. Now there was a famine in the land, so Abram went down to Egypt to reside there as an alien, for the famine was severe in the land. When he was about to enter Egypt, okay, hang on a second before I get into that part. Famine in the land is fine. They were not eating. It means they had nothing to consume there. You're living life in some place where you're not getting life experiences. You are experiencing a spiritual, mental famine. You're not experiencing life. It's not really something that's happening. What happens right after that, though, is that the famine ceases. We begin consuming. We begin living life. We begin experiencing life. So because the famine was there, we left, which is not a real famine. That represents in the spiritual world, I have nothing. When we're learning, we're consuming. When we're taking stuff in, whether it's good or bad, we can consume good stuff or bad stuff. But that is what we're doing here. So famine means we don't have food. And we've left Canaan, so we're leaving our happiness and we're leaving our emptiness behind. Then what happens? There's this idea of fear. I'm not sure what that is. When he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarai, I know well that you are a woman beautiful in appearance. And when the Egyptians see you, they will say, ooh, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but they will let you live. Say that you are my sister, so that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life may be spared on your account. So, right off the bat, that's a very weird story. You would think, hey, God, did you just start this right here? You're not doing very good. It makes sense on the template. We are now giving up our inner selves to life experiences. We've turned life experiences over to Pharaoh. Pharaoh represents first sin, or having those life experiences. Yeah, that's it. Remember how the color code here was here's our cause and effect, and then here's the 7, the happy spot. So if I come over to here to Genesis, I've got the cause and effect right here. And right down here, I've got Abram took his wife, Sarah, and his brother. There we are at the Canaanites in the land and putting up the altar and all that. So I've marked that that is the happy spot right there. That is before things decay. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. When the officials of Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. So, all right, yep. Hey, beautiful woman coming. She's available. Just this dude's sister. All righty, bring her in. I'm going to marry her. And for her sake, he dealt with Abram. So we're getting sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female slaves, female donkeys, and camels. We're getting slaves, male and female slaves, camels, donkeys, sheep, ox. We're getting animals for giving up our wife, if you read the story literally. If you read it on the template, we are gaining something that we don't know exactly what they mean in analogous terms, that because we're beginning to gain life experiences, is what we're getting right here. Okay, I want to stop right here and emphasize how this is all playing out in the psyche, but how all of this is analogous verbiage and it represents something different. That Pharaoh represents the life experiences in the same way as when you get kicked out of the Garden of Eden and get told you must now go till the land and suffer and toil. That's what's happening right here. In a different total package of nouns and verbs. It sounds differently until you read it conceptually. Okay? The anchored ship that cannot sail, the boulder that gets rolled up the hill that keeps coming down, the liver that gets eaten out, the tree that gets, grows up and doesn't produce anything, gets chopped down and does it again. All of those are holding the same conceptual idea. That's what we're looking for here. In that case there that I just gave was repeated pain cycles right there. So what we're doing as we read all of this stuff is we're looking for the same sort of concepts like that. In this case, Pharaoh is in the area. Egypt is in the area. The story, does it hold water? It may have for people back then, and it certainly does for people today. However, on the template, what it very specifically means is a lot more clear. Pharaoh represents that we are having those life experiences and that we are becoming corrupted, that our inner being, we have consciously turned it over. We're not paying attention in life. We're just going and living experiences. We have turned ourselves over to Pharaoh, but be incredibly cognizant how we look at this. Turning oneself over is not a voluntary action. It is a normal action. When we start, we are not wired. We need to have experiences about life in order to wire our brain, in order to think, in order to be aware, in order to even attach to our higher self. Without life experiences, we will never be able to think. We won't learn how to. We won't develop the neural pathways. So that all of that happens, but it happens from where we come from. And we come from a variety of places: good homes, bad homes, abuse, wonder, different things like that. Typically what we're looking for, a lot of people are suffering. There's a lot of hurt. The path is for that right there. So in this part of the teaching, what it's letting us know that we are consciously living life not aware. We have turned our inner being over to life experience, not aware that we're just accumulating our experiences along the way, unaware. That's what this is right here. Abram giving up his wife really represents the idea that we are living life unaware of the fact that we are now accumulating those life experiences. That's it right there. Okay, getting back to it, I'm going to go ahead and color code this then. What did we have on our list here again? It was the 8 judged, unchecked life experiences begin here and become hidden deeply, and we begin to lose our inner joy. We've got that marked red, so I'm going to go ahead and mark that red here. There we go. And then let's move on. But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. So Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister, so that I took her for my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Take her and be gone." And Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning him, and they sent him on the way with his wife and all that he had. Okay, let's go back to our list up here. What do we have? Next one was cyclical pain emerges. What did we have right back here? But the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, his wife. That right there is the cycles of pain. We're looking for, yeah, there we go. Looking for the concepts. There's something happening, great plagues, over and over. That's not good. Yep, there we go. A cycle of no good. Yeah, I'm going to stop for a second. I suspected this video might get a little jumbled because I'm going to be learning as I go. And I want to stop right now and talk about the 30 as an analog, where it comes from, how it sits, how it looks, and how it seems to shore up everything. It looks like the network is just continuing to shore itself up. Okay, take a look at this. The original 7s and 3s were from day 7. That's the point we need to get back to. We had established that, and we've got our list up here, say day 7 critical tie point. And I'm beginning to list analogs here, and you see I've got some written down here that are various numbers. But let me see where. Let's go look where those came from. Back here, where they were talking about Sodom and Gomorrah and whether it should be destroyed. This was where it was established that righteous was said 7 times in this block right in here. So that means that righteous now fits on that list over here of critical tie point. We see we've got righteous right there. That's another good. That's where we start from. So righteous became the same thing as 7, analogous. Okay, let's look here, and farther down, it begins other things besides righteous. It says 50 righteous. So is 50 an analog? Sounds like it could be. Let's take a. I'll just write that down. Suppose 40 are found there, and he answered, "For the 40 I will not. So I'm going to put 40 down. What if there's 30? For the 30, I will not. 20, I will. You see what's happening there? There's some repeats going on that I'm thinking, those are verbal clues. I'm going to call them analogs and put them up here. So you see, I that's what I've done. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, Canaan, naked, barren, famine, 12. All the ones that are black are the ones that I put down that I suspect. And once I make them green, that means, yep, they keep showing up elsewhere. You see, 40 comes. Okay, well, what we're doing here, we're going to go back and take a look again at Abram. Abram, I have said, was the start of the monomyth. What do we have? Abram, if we go search for that, we have 30 results. So Abram is the beginning of this purity based on the story. Abram is the called person. That is me, starting with my wife Sarai, my inner being, in a land of famine in the beginning where I have nothing in Canaan, and then I'm going to go experience life. But it starts off in that same place if you go back here. So now I can take that 30 right there and confirm that and make it green. But you can see what happened here. Abram is not going to continue to be repeated. However, what they've done is they've taken Abram at that point in time, converted it into something. If we were to take Sarai and take the same numbers from that same time frame, it's probably going to be the same thing. You see how it grows like this, that all those things continue to connect up, but it's a matter of just digging into them and looking at them. You can see it's not an easy process. Actually, it is an easy process. Every bit of the changing that's going on is a mental story. People would have this memorized, and we don't. We're going through and trying to interpret 3,500-year-old puzzles. But what we know is that they had the capacity to repeat numbers and names. And that is what they're doing. They created a template, and then at template steps, they continue to create variations in certain places of the analogous terms so that they can continue to repeat that template while it never sounds like it. Let's look at something else for a second. If I were to, now that I'm onto that, I say, well, if there was 30 times that Abram showed up, what happens if we, without even thinking about anything different, let's just go look at Sarai. Sarai was there at the same time as him, so there should be a link up. If we go to Job, we see Job starts off with 3 daughters and 7 sons. Now, we're looking for something similar here. So if Abram is going to be the same as 40, which is the same as 3 and 7, you see, then Sarai is going to, let's take a look and just see what comes up. Okay, when I put in Sarai, I get 17 results. That doesn't sound familiar to me. If I want to go look at them all, I make sure that they're all Sarai, that there isn't any compound or anything in there, and they're not. They're all just right straight up Sarai 17 times. So I'm going to put 17 as I suspect that to be an analog. What happens if I put 17 in here and just go see what it does? See where else it shows up. 17, 4 results of Noah's life in the 2nd month on the 17th day of the month. Could that be purity? It could be an analog for that. We'd have to look at the story. It could be abated in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month. So there's another date. Could be. I'm not sure yet. I'll leave it black. Story of the family of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was shepherding his flock. Let's go look at that one real quick. Genesis 37, Jacob settled in the land where his father had lived as an alien, the land of Canaan. Okay, so we're starting back in Canaan, alien in the land. Isn't that what just happened to Abram and Sarai? Yeah, alien in the land of Canaan. Okay, Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden don't belong there. They're going to have to experience life and leave. They are going to become aliens in Eden. This is the same thing. Alien in the land of Canaan means you are in the Garden of Eden complete. That means you are starting out in life, ready to begin experiencing life and judging life. Yeah. They have a famine back there, though. And what do we have here? This is the story of a family of Jacob, Joseph, being 17 years old. Yeah, that's it. 17 years old. 17, if that's an analog for that time right there, absolutely. You've got, so 17 definitely looks like it would work. Actually, let me check that. There's a 4th one there. It's still about Jacob, Joseph, Jacob. I'm not this far in the story, so this is just going to be, I'm just looking to see if, I'm not confirming anything now. I'm just looking around. This is just the familiarity process. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the days of Jacob, the years of his life were 147 years. Oh, this might help us start cracking into those T shapes. I don't know what that is. You know, I see something here. I'm not quite sure what. I don't want to nail it down yet because we're doing interpretation. So let's look at the list again here. We've got, and it's that where 7-3 righteous, all that is the area I'm working in, where I'm just accumulating these right here. There's questionable ones around. I've got it's a work in progress. Okay. So I've got 7-3 righteous covenant, 40-30, Canaan, naked, barren, famine, all relating to this place. 50, not yet confirmed. 20, 10, 5, getting close probably. 12, I'm not sure. I think that is, but yeah, I'll leave that out. Now you see I added in a blue section there. This is Abram and Sarai. This represents us. This is us at this point in time right here. This would be like Adam and Eve. This is Abram and Sarai. This is the pure, or this is the conscious and the pure subconscious. The conscious is ready to experience life and decide the quality of it. The subconscious, the inner being Sarai, is ready to start becoming what those decisions and judgments are. And then I've got the 17 there that is, it looks like it's going to be there, but I need to continue to pull more things in until I can look at it and go, okay, yep, I definitely see it. Not, I think I see it because it showed up one time. This is a game of confirmation. Okay, I made a mistake. Abram, why do I have this like this? Where did I get 30? Why is there 55? What am I doing different? I took out I've got some Abrams in here with an asterisk in front. So, if I pull up one of those, for example, right here, I know that I've added that one in. So I just put an asterisk in front of it. What I can do then is put a space in front of my search. It will eliminate that one. It should not, everything else should just be Abram. And that's exactly what happens, but it comes up with 55 results. I think what I had done when I put a pause in the end, or I put a space at the end, that's when it dropped to 30. However, it eliminated everything that went Abram, comma, and Abram, period. Therefore, 30 is not right, 55 is right. See what I just did there? Okay, back to the list. You see why this is such a hard thing and a pain. All right, what I've did is I've gone up to that 30 that I had confirmed and I unconfirmed it. I made it black again, so it's not green. I realized that didn't point to 30 occurrences of Abram. There were 55. So what I've done down here at the end is I've added in the 55 there as a non-confirmed analogous variation, and 30 is unconfirmed. So we've added some too and kind of changed little things. This is progress. This is progress. It's okay. In fact, it's possible it could lead to a deeper understanding. 55 is there, but you also see that there's a 50 and there is a 5. Is it possible that you can grab 50, that you can grab 5, that you can grab 55, that you can grab 35, that you can grab, 34, 32? See the numbers down below? Maybe we can start adding these up and they still represent the same thing. Maybe. I don't know, but it's growing. Ideas. Remembering now, this is very important. Somebody created these, and they created them very intentionally and purposefully for someone to figure out what's going on. Back then, people could figure this out. They are putting in all of the necessary tools, the points, the keys, the clues, but we have to do it the way they did it. Unless we can have like some computer or AI go through and do all of this stuff, and I don't know that it would go through the reasoning processes that we have to go through. It has to play out in the psyche to understand it. We could have it look for numbers and I don't know. I don't know how that works. Right now I'm just going through it. But this is intentionally there. It is for us. We need to know that is the case. We're cracking into what we're supposed to find. I'm at a point where I want to suggest something that I've left way in the past, and that was some sizing on the ark for the flood. This is how you are to make it. The length of the ark, 300 cubits, its width, 50 cubits, and its height, 30 cubits. All right, well, we've got 50 and 30 cubits, both on our list of 7, But I want to show you something else. This is something Van found. This comes from 1 Kings, verse 7, 1 through a few of them here. I'll just read them through. Look for the similarities. Solomon was building his own house 13 years, and he finished his entire house. He built the house of the forest of the Lebanon, 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. The ark was 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high, almost identical sizes. It was roofed with cedar on the 45 rafters. 45 showed up, 15 in each row, which is one of our numbers, which were on the pillars. There were window frames in the 3 rows, 3 is there, facing each other in the 3 rows. All the doorways and doorposts had 4-sided frames, opposite, facing each other in the 3 rows. 3s, 4s, 30s. You know what I'm beginning to think here? Hang on, I forget which button to push sometimes. We're creating a structure. The ark is me. The new structure is me. Whatever we're building is me, and we're framing it up in everything that is what? Righteousness, truth, reality, disconnected from attachment to the world. All of the stories are going to be doing that. And all of those sizes end up being not sizes, but analogous terms, which means righteous, righteous, righteous. What do you want to build yourself out of? Righteousness, the entire structure. We're looking for one thing, one sheep, one fish. All right. And I've said before that what they're doing in Genesis, it appears to me, is that they're where all these numbers and these repeats are that I don't find elsewhere, that in this kind of a massive quantity, that this is where they are farming those analogs that they're using downstream. You go down later on in Jewish material and go, boy, those same numbers are being used for the same thing. They're following the patterns that are established in Genesis. Therefore, let's reverse engineer a little bit more. I'm going to add 100 and 300 to the list of 7 and 3, as well as 15. So here we have it. I've got the, 55, 100, 315. So the 100 and the 300, those were sizes I have not identified previously. But if the ark and the building are all going to be made out of righteousness and there's one size we can't identify, I'm going to put them in here and think, well, maybe they mean that. I'll just keep them black for now. And that 15 was there as well. I thought it was here, but it's not. There's a 10 and a 5. There's a 15. So at any rate, okay, this is... This is where I'm at. This is how it grows and how it looks to continue to be confirmed when you look elsewhere. So let me actually stop for a minute and just go back to what we're doing. I'm looking for analogs. I'm farming analogs, but I'm doing so by going through the interpretation. But you can see that the interpretation is not really happening. We're seeing so many numbers here. It's like, well, let's collect them and go confirm. We're learning the secret structure. Meanwhile, there's a story, a template, pattern that needs to emerge. We were Abram and Sarai. That was us pure in the beginning. We left, we hooked up with Pharaoh. That represents hooking up with the serpent in the garden. We are now having life experiences. We are partaking of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We are living life and judging life. And we lose our bliss. We're kicked out. Pharaoh represents all of that. And then the cyclical plagues, this represents that part of our life that we've attached to. Now it's like, how come it hurts all the time? This keeps happening. Oh my God, we need to interrupt with that and heal that. It comes from a place that we can identify. Pharaoh represents the past, and then Pharaoh kicking you out represents leaving the past behind. This should emerge in people's minds as the prototype for what Exodus is going to become. We've got Pharaoh, except in this case, Pharaoh wants you to leave. Pharaoh is sending you away. This is like the past telling you, you got to get out of here. When we get to Exodus, that becomes an incredibly full-blown, very highly structured monomyth. This pattern that I'm building is going to line up very well there. Here in Genesis, it doesn't. It's very prototype here in Genesis. The structure of the monomyth or the self-healing path is not as complete. But here is where the analogs are coming from. We need them. Okay. When we get to Exodus, it's the same thing, except it's a bigger, full-blown story. Pharaoh is still the hurtful past. The plagues are still there. The cyclical pain is happening. You must leave. The past doesn't want you to go. You're trying to leave. Instead of the past telling you to go, you're trying to leave the past. But they both mean the same thing. On the psyche, it's a struggle to leave my habits, my addictions, my hurt, my pain, whatever it is that I can't resolve, the stuff that comes with me, the stuff that I can't manage. All of that stuff is what that is. Okay, if I think what I should do, maybe because this video went kind of wacko, I was going to start going through interpretation. I barely got anywhere in the interpretation, but got a long way on the analogs. And sometimes I get to this point right here and my head is kind of like, I don't know what to call it, like blubberheaded. I'm like, I gotta let it's like you need to let synapses catch up a little bit. And then you come back and go, okay, I've got it more clear. I'm at that point with this video right now. We're going to move on. There's going to be some things that come ahead. If you jump ahead, Abram and Sarai is when we become Abraham and Sarah. That's another iteration of us. We're going to see that here we let our inner being marry Pharaoh and got stuff for it in return. The things that we got was the pain, the hurt, the shame. The animals and the slaves are things we don't want when we're leaving. Those are analogous representations of you had nothing to begin with. Now you have animals and slaves. You had an empty mind to begin with. Now you have all kinds of things that are acting out inside of you. Later on, we're going to get to a point where he does the same thing again and gives Sarai over to a king. Only in this case, the king is interfered with ahead of time. They leave without the king having sex with Sarai, which analogously represents the idea of Pharaoh and Sarai accumulating things. The king took on a different role. Pharaoh is apparently this idea of this is exposure to world experiences. The king is not. I'm sure there will be good kings and bad kings in here. But at any rate, the king in this case didn't have sex with her and said, get out of here, go. So one of them would represent, I can't escape temptation. The other one represents, yeah, I'm done with that. I can leave it behind. I've escaped the temptation. That's the way that they're going to unfold. In the meantime, I'm still farming analogs. So you see what it is. And if anybody wants to help, it's really, that's what's going on. You have to kind of sit down with the computer, put it in there, go through the things, look for these patterns, then just look for numbers. And eventually this structure begins to kind of build in your own mind. Everybody sees the easy parts. Everybody sees structure in there, but we don't get very deep. As I dig into it and I dig deeper into it, I emerge more structure. More patterns. And it's really, if you think about it, they are passing along this entire, it's a story that represents it's word of mouth. Any story you have, any media, any entertainment, any self-help, anything like that, all of it, they have one story to tell, or they could talk to each other, or they could think that was it. These stories contain an incredible amounts. They were made for thousands of years. People today read them and think, oh, it's just true. They don't know how to figure them out. There's something in there. It's interactive. This is one of those figurative times you can say, we get so close to the stories and the material that maybe we can't see the forest for the trees. I'm stepping back a little ways at seeing it. There is one template that is just constantly being repeated over and over and over again. Greek myth, Hinduism, all of it, the same thing. One template that all of these are framed upon. Many are the ways looking outward that lead to destruction. What happens, though? Each one of those stories is an individual guru. Here's your path on this story, or this story. Take any story you want. Get it from Buddha, get it from Lao Tzu, get it from here. Just know that they're different genres of teaching, but that in all cases, they're analogous terms, and you take this, instead of reading it and looking outward with it, you read it and go, oh, I'm going to look inward with it. It's a pathway into here. You turn inward with it. You enter the narrow gate. And that narrow gate is the crossing of the threshold for anybody that's watching along. Matthew is a monomyth. Mark is a monomyth. Luke is a monomyth. You just have to, it's hard to turn the corner on how to interpret those. We get stuck with them because of emotional attachment to them. It becomes a pathway. You become the person on the trip. You become Abram, Sarai. You become Moses. In any case, that's how these work. It's there all the time. We're carrying it all the time. We kind of see it, but not really. If we look close and start examining it, this is what emerges with consistency. And if your head figures out metaphor, this is the ark right here. Carried by the many, seen in by few, for those of us that can find it. And I think it was lost. Well, no, there's people that know this. We're just finding out for ourselves. All right. That's it for this video. I need to kind of clean up my analog lists here, look at things, process a little bit more, and get back into it on the next video. Hope this was interesting. I learned, yeah, you see, I start off going, I'm going to start interpreting, and next thing you know, I'm off finding analogs, going down to other places. It continues to emerge. It's fun, isn't it? All right. See you in the next video.